All right, today on CAS Minute, we're going to walk through structure for a proposal meeting with a prospect. At this point, we've assumed that this lead is marketing qualified, meaning they meet the basic acceptance standards of the types of clients that you work with. Your outbound messaging resonates with this prospect, and they have identified that you may be a good opportunity to solve their problems. We're also assuming that you've had a discovery meeting, that you've qualified them from a sales perspective to ensure that the marketing qualification was valid, and that you've gathered some internal information in order to understand how you all may be able to work together. Now, I'm in favor of a 2-meeting sales process, meaning you have a discovery meeting, and then the next step is going to be a sales proposal meeting. In between those meetings is when you're gathering information, you're walking through scope, and then you're putting that together to present to the prospect in a sales meeting. There are times in which a third meeting is required, and that would be a deep dive meeting that falls in between the discovery and the proposal meeting, and that usually comes whenever there are situations that are a little bit more complex, the scope is a bit larger, and/or you just need more time to dig in and learn from the prospect where their needs really lie. But for today's conversation, we're going to focus on the sales proposal meeting. So what I like to do in this meeting is I like to have a deck put together in order to walk through information with a prospect. This is something that I want to hand over to the prospect at the end of this meeting, and it provides value to them. So whether or not we work together, they walk away with something constructive that they can take action on. So we have a deck template that we use that we build up that's customized to every prospect that we work with. And here's the structure of it. There's an intro slide. The intro slide really walks through high level, what are the goals? How do we solve those goals? How do we work as a company? And then what's the price? I like to hit price right out of the gates. You can create a really interesting distance between yourself and a prospect when you walk through a full proposal meeting and then you hit price at the very end. Because effectively, that's all they're thinking about the entire time you're talking through how you're going to solve their problems is, what is this going to cost me? So I like to hit it out of the gates first and then walk through what are the pain points, how are we going to solve them, how do we work together, things like that, so that there's not this big shock factor at the very end of a conversation. So after this intro slide, I really want to walk through in more detail, what are the goals of the organization? Where are you trying to get? What do you want to achieve? If you had a magic wand to solve these problems today, what would that look like? So we can start to articulate around those key things that the company wants to accomplish. And then the next step is to walk through what are the barriers that are preventing them from achieving these goals? What are their current pain points? At this point, we've already gathered all of this information, so this is really just putting pen to paper on rallying around the same thing. Once we've identified those pain points, we've walked through them, perhaps asked clarifying questions of our understanding of their pain points. Then we want to walk into our analysis. What are the qualitative and quantitative items that we've observed as a function of our scoping process? When we gather information, when we walk through the financials, when we understand the existing processes, we typically come back with a series of recommendations and ideas on how to create a better environment in order to create a higher degree of connectivity to the outcomes and goals that they've already articulated to us. So this is really the section that we want the prospect to walk away with to say, hey, even if we don't work together, we can take these issues and then start to solve them in other ways. This is a free document. This is a free step. We are not charging for this discovery process because I strongly believe that at the end of the day, I want any company, any connector, anybody that we talk to yield value from conversing with us as a company. So we provide this feedback, and this really starts to help us walk into our process. What does the scope look like? How does it look to work together to solve these problems and then to start to implement some of this analysis and ideas that we have as a function of our analysis of the financials? So my objective here is to paint a picture. It stays pretty high level. We're not going into detail line item scope here. We're walking through high level, what are we going to be doing for you? And what does that look like from a timeline perspective? The biggest thing to hit here is onboarding. What does onboarding look like? Is there a process? Do you have structure? What are the expectations for the company if they were to work with you? the better that you can articulate the onboarding process, the more comfortability that gives to the company that you're talking to. Once we've gone through an overview, the initial price, the goals, pains, our feedback, and then a roadmap of what it looks like to work together, we tie a bow on it by saying, hey, here's what the scope looks like. Here's what makes up the price. Here's how we derive that information. And then we're going to hand that over. That is going to be a document, what I would call a soft proposal to the client. Generally, by that point in the conversation, we either have positive affirmation that we're moving the right direction, or we can uncover some stickiness that may have been a result of our analysis or scope or the way in which we work together. So we're not going through the steps of putting together a detailed statement of work at this point. However, as soon as we receive that positive feedback, then we trigger the more formal scoping agreement process. That comes as a next step, but immediately following this meeting, we deliver a deck, we open up the forum for additional questions, and then we deliver the proposal link through email. I like that step. We are always open to discuss a proposal in detail live and to make sure that the client fully understands what they're getting into, how they're engaging with us, what certain elements of the contract mean. Ultimately, we want to paint a really quality picture of what is the value we're providing to help them reach their outcomes, and then to ensure that we are both on the same page in terms of how we're going to work together. I believe that sets you up for success in a sales meeting and generally is well received by the other side. I hope that's helpful in constructing your sales proposal meetings. Till next time.